My coworkers left me out of lunch every day. They thought I wouldn't notice or care. I acted like it didn't bother me. But someone else noticed everything. The cloying scent of the cheap, synthetic lemon air freshener from the break room clung to me like a shroud. It always did after those 12:30 p.m. departures. The silence that followed the faint thump of the elevator doors, carrying the boisterous laughter of my team, was a physical thing. It pressed in, suffocating, not just the air in my lungs, but the very hope I harbored. This wasn't a sudden ambush of solitude. It was a slow, meticulously executed strangulation of my professional and personal existence within those four walls. Tone Q. Bitter, almost resigned, it took me a while to pinpoint the exact flavor of that silence. It wasn't the quiet of productivity. It was the quiet of being deliberately erased. I remember that Wednesday. The fluorescent lights hummed with an almost malicious intensity, casting harsh shadows across my keyboard. My monitor, a cold, indifferent eye, glowed with an open spreadsheet, numbers blurring before my vision. They'd been gone for, 10 minutes? Enough time for the initial buzz of their departure to settle, for the coffee machine in the break room to stop gurgling, for the last echo of their jokes to fade from the communal space. Usually, I'd just push it down, tell myself I was busy, that I preferred working through lunch anyway. A lie, of course. A pathetic, transparent lie I told myself daily to protect the last brittle fragments of my self-respect. But this day was different. Something felt off. More off than usual. My left ear, the one closest to the aisle, had picked up snippets before they left. I hadn't been actively listening, just existing. Same place. Sarah's chirpy voice, always a little too loud. Yep, new sushi joint, Mark's deeper rumble. Don't forget to grab Jess's order. That was David. Jess. Jessica. Not me. Not once. Never me. It was a mundane interaction, one that had played out 100 times. But today, the specificity, the grab Jess's order, the casual assumption that everyone knew the plan except for me, it pricked something deep. A tiny, almost imperceptible tear in the fabric of my carefully constructed denial. My fingers, usually flying across the keys, stilled. The hum of the cheap office refrigerator in the break room, a constant, low thrum, seemed to amplify, filling the sudden void in my perception. It was like a single, discordant note in an otherwise silent symphony. And then the smell. Not the lemon freshener this time, but something richer, heavier, distinct. Teriyaki. From the sushi joint. My gut clenched. Not just with hunger, but with something far more acidic. Disgust. Self-pity. And a cold, sharp spark of pure, unadulterated suspicion. Tone Q. Low, simmering anger. I know what you're thinking. It's just lunch. Get over it. And for months, years even, that's what I told myself. That's what I was told, implicitly, by their casual glances, their feigned surprise when they returned. Oh, you're still here? Thought you'd gone out, as if I'd simply forgotten to join them. Gaslighting, pure and simple. They created a reality where my exclusion was either an oversight, my fault for not being social enough, or simply a non-event. And I, like a fool caught in a spider's web, absorbed every single strand of that narrative, letting it bind me tighter. This wasn't just about the food or the lost hour of social interaction. This was about a deliberate, calculated campaign of psychological othering. It was a slow drip torture designed to make me feel invisible, insignificant, and utterly alone, while simultaneously maintaining a veneer of professional politeness. That Wednesday, the teriyaki smell was the chemical agent that finally dissolved the web. That evening, I didn't go home. I sat in my car in the dimly lit parking lot, the engine off, the air conditioning having long since faded. My phone, usually a portal to distraction, felt heavy in my hand. I wasn't scrolling social media. I was dissecting, replaying every interaction, every non-interaction. The fleeting eye contact that lasted a fraction of a second too long before darting away. The way conversations died when I approached the coffee machine. The sudden hushed tones. The carefully worded emails that mentioned team bonding, but somehow never included a time or place, always followed by an unceremonious lunch at 12:30, whispered conspiratorially in the hallway as I passed. It was like sifting through sand for grains of gold, except the gold was evidence of my slow social execution. The next morning, the spark had hardened into a cold, determined resolve. I arrived early, before anyone else. The office was quiet, save for the distant rumble of the city and the ubiquitous hum of the servers. My desk felt like a command center. This was the start of my forensic descent. My first target, shared calendars. We used Outlook, a company standard. I had access to team calendars for scheduling meetings, booking conference rooms. What I didn't have was access to personal calendars, or so I thought. But sometimes, people, particularly those who felt secure in their perceived dominance, got sloppy. And Sarah, the chirpy one, was notorious for her digital carelessness. She was the golden child of the team, the one who could do no wrong in our manager's eyes, the one who orchestrated most of the social events. Everyone deferred to Sarah. She got a particular narcissistic supply from it, I realized later. I opened my Outlook. Opened Sarah's calendar, which, for some baffling reason, she had set to shared with details for the entire team, probably forgetting to change the default setting from her personal use. There it was. My heart started to hammer against my ribs, a dull, frantic drumbeat. Not just today's lunch, but every single day for the past 3 months marked team lunch, sushi joint, or lunch meat, Italian, or quick bite, deli. And then a detail that solidified the betrayal. Attendees: Mark, David, Jess, manager's name, Sarah. My name was conspicuously, utterly absent. For 3 months. Not an oversight. Not a few times. Every single day. Tone cue: quiet, intense fury. The air in the office, usually a sterile, recycled blend, suddenly tasted metallic. My hands, surprisingly steady, clicked through the entries. The consistency was almost artistic in its cruelty. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate, sustained effort. The evidence piled up, pixel by pixel, entry by entry. But a calendar entry, while damning, wasn't enough. It could be argued away as, oh, we just used that for a rough plan. We usually invited everyone verbally. More gaslighting. I needed more. I needed proof of their collusion, their intent. This is where the someone else noticed everything truly began to take shape. Not a single person, but a confluence of events and observations. There was Kevin, a former colleague who'd left 6 months prior under a cloud of unspoken dissatisfaction. We'd always gotten along, shared a mutual appreciation for cynical humor and proper documentation. He'd sent me a cryptic email a few weeks after he left. Watch your back, my name. That office has a way of making you feel like you're losing your mind. They start small. Lunches are just the beginning. At the time, I dismissed it as Kevin being Kevin, a little dramatic. Now, his words echoed in my skull like a prophecy. I scrolled back through my old emails, found his contact info. Later that day, after hours again, when the office was a ghost town, I called Kevin. He picked up on the second ring, sounding surprised. We talked for nearly an hour. Tone cue: measured, investigative. Hey Kevin, it's my name. Well, look who decided to crawl out of the corporate abyss. How's the Lion's Den treating you? His voice was a familiar blend of sarcasm and genuine warmth. Funny you should ask. Remember what you said about lunches just being the beginning? A beat of silence. So it started. Or rather, you finally noticed. Finally noticed what, exactly? I tried to keep my voice even, but a tremor of desperation must have slipped through. The soft exclusion. The quiet eradication. It's their MO Sarah, Mark, David. They're a clique. They decide who's in, who's out. And once you're out, you're out. They feed off it. It gives them a sense of power, a collective us versus them. You are always too good at your job, too independent. That threatens their little ecosystem. But why? What did I do? Nothing, man. That's the point. You didn't play their game. You didn't fawn over Sarah's latest artisanal coffee. You didn't laugh loud enough at David's painfully unfunny jokes. You were just competent. And they resented it. They need a target for their collective narcissistic supply, a way to bond over someone else's perceived inadequacy or otherness. You fit the bill. I was next on the chopping block when I left. They do it every day, Kevin. Every single day for months. My voice cracked. Oh, I know. They did it to me too. And they're insidious about it. They leave just enough plausible deniability. You're supposed to doubt yourself. You're supposed to feel like you're overreacting. It's a classic reactive abuse tactic. They push you to a breaking point, and then when you react, they point to your reaction as proof of your instability. Don't fall for it. He paused, then lowered his voice. Look, I learned a few things before I left. They use a private Slack channel for informal discussions, but it's really for everything, including their lunch plans, their gossip, their complaints about management, which sometimes meant you, because you were a manager favorite when you first started. Golden child, then outcast. It happens. A private Slack channel? How do you know? I stumbled upon it. Sarah, God bless her technologically challenged soul, left her laptop open on the break room table once. She was logged into the company Slack. I saw it. Team lunch shenanigans. And I saw snippets of conversations. They were actively coordinating the exclusion. Making jokes about you too. Guess who's munching on a sad desk salad again? That kind of crap. My stomach twisted. The casual cruelty, the dehumanization. It was worse than I thought. Can I access it? Only if you can get into her Slack. Which you shouldn't do ethically. But hey, when you're being systematically dehumanized, ethics get a bit blurry. The thing is, even if you can't get into that channel, their public interactions sometimes give it away. Check the timestamps. Check for coordinated messages that suddenly disappear from the public channels. They get sloppy. Kevin's advice became the blueprint for my next move. The next few days were a blur of meticulous, almost obsessive digital archaeology. I used my lunch breaks and then stayed late, transforming my desk into a temporary war room. The flickering glow of the monitor was my only companion. I wasn't just looking for clues, I was building a case. A legal brief of my own personal injustice. My focus shifted to Slack. I didn't try to hack Sarah's account. That was a line I wasn't ready to cross yet. But I did observe. Kevin's words about coordinated messages that suddenly disappear echoed. And sure enough, after about 2 days of hypervigilant monitoring, I caught it. It was subtle. Around 11:45 a.m., Sarah would post something innocuous in the general chat, something like, "Anyone else feeling hungry?" Then, precisely 15 minutes later, David would post, "Heard the new deli has a great special today." No direct connection. But the timing was always too perfect. And then, the three of them, Sarah, Mark, David, would all go offline simultaneously at 12:30 p.m. Jess, the new addition to their in-group, often followed suit, a few minutes later, like an eager acolyte. I started taking screenshots. Not just of the Slack messages, but of the timestamps, the user profiles, their online status toggling to offline. This was painstaking. I created a dedicated, encrypted folder on a personal drive, meticulously labeled, cross-referenced. This was my forensic deep dive. I spent hours scouring my own sent and received emails, looking for any mention of lunch that might have been overlooked. Nothing. Not a single, "Hey, want to grab lunch?" from any of them, not for months. Then, one evening, pure luck, or perhaps the universe finally balancing the scales, intervened. I was walking past the break room, and Sarah, bless her scatterbrained heart, had left her company laptop on the counter, charging, screen unlocked. She must have dashed off for a quick call. My breath hitched. This was it. The opportunity. My moral compass wavered for a split second, then solidified. They had systematically eroded my professional well-being, my sense of belonging. The cost of winning started here, with this one ethical transgression. My hands, though slightly trembling now, moved with a surgical precision I didn't know I possessed. I slid into the chair, the cheap plastic creaking under my weight. The screen glowed, logged into her Slack. And there it was, glaringly obvious in the left sidebar, a private channel, teamlunch_inner circle. My fingers, guided by a cold, righteous anger, hovered over it. Clicking it open felt like opening Pandora's box. The conversations unfurled before my eyes, a horrifying tapestry of casual cruelty. Tone cue, disgusted almost. Horrified, Sarah, 11:58 a.m. Alright gang, sushi time. David, you grabbing orders? David, 11:59 a.m. Yep. Everyone good with the usual? My name, definitely not joining, haha. Mark, 12 p.m. LOL. Hope, my name, enjoys that sad desk salad again. Did anyone see their face yesterday? Priceless. Jess, 12:01 p.m. Oh my god, Mark. Be nice. But seriously, the way they just sit there, you'd think they liked it. Sarah, 12:02 p.m. No, it's fine. My name prefers to focus on work. That's what they told me once. So, we're just respecting their wishes, right? Total professional. David, 12:03 p.m. Right, Sarah? Very professional of us. Emoji, winking face, my blood ran cold. The sheer, unadulterated malice. The deliberate psychological torture framed as respecting my wishes. The gaslighting, not just to me, but to each other, creating a shared delusion that I was the one who chose to be excluded. This wasn't just social awkwardness. This was coordinated bullying, designed to break me down, chip away at my confidence, and consolidate their own power. This was a classic demonstration of narcissistic supply, where my exclusion provided them with a shared, negative focal point, reinforcing their in-group solidarity. I didn't stop there. I scrolled. Months of conversations. Planning team outings I was never invited to. Discussions about projects where my input was deliberately sidelined before meetings. Gossip, rumors, petty complaints about my work style, my clothes, my very presence. It was a cesspool of negativity, all directed at me, meticulously documented in digital form. The level of detail in those logs alone would be at least 3,000 characters of pure, unadulterated evidence. I scrolled for what felt like an eternity, taking screenshots with a practiced ease, capturing the dates, the times, the specific messages. My phone was dead silent. Not a single notification dared to interrupt this grim harvest. The only sound was the whirring of the laptop fan and the occasional creak of the empty office as the building settled. Each screenshot felt like a victory, a tiny shard of justice for every lonely lunch, every ignored greeting, every forced smile. I wasn't a tech expert, but I knew enough about metadata and digital forensics to understand the weight of what I was collecting. The timestamps on the Slack messages, the user IDs, the specific text, all immutable. I even found a few instances where they discuss an external, team-building event, attaching a PDF of the itinerary, explicitly stating RSVP by date for team members, Sarah, Mark, David, Jess. My name, again, absent. This wasn't just about lunch. This was about systematically isolating me from the team, professionally and personally. I copied everything to a secure cloud drive, and then, just to be safe, onto a small, encrypted USB stick. The entire process, from logging in to securing the data, took less than 15 minutes. When I walked away, Sarah's laptop was exactly as I found it. No trace. Only I knew the digital ghost I'd left behind. The ghost of her own carelessness. The next step was to talk to someone. Not HR, not yet. I needed an ally, someone who understood the corporate landscape and could help me navigate the fallout. I thought of Alex. Alex was a friend from college, now a corporate lawyer, sharp as a tack and utterly ruthless when it came to corporate injustices. He was my tech-savvy friend, my guide through the legal labyrinth. I met him in a dimly lit bar, the kind with sticky tables and a lingering smell of stale beer and desperation. It felt appropriate. I ordered a neat whiskey, something I rarely did. Alex, ever the professional, had a sparkling water. I laid out my findings, showing him the screenshots, explaining the timeline. Tone cue. Calm, deliberate, but with an undercurrent of barely suppressed emotion. They did this to you for months? Alex asked, his brow furrowed, scrolling through the Slack logs on my tablet. The blue light from the screen illuminated his face, making him look almost spectral. Every single day. And other things. Exclusions from project discussions, social events. It built up. Kevin, a former colleague, confirmed their pattern. He called it soft exclusion, quiet eradication. He said they fed off the narcissistic supply of my discomfort. Alex nodded slowly. Reactive abuse. Sunk cost fallacy. You stayed because you'd invested so much, professionally and emotionally, even as they chipped away at you. This isn't just bullying my name. This is creating a hostile work environment. It's targeted harassment. The company has a duty of care. This is a clear breach. What do I do, Alex? I have all this evidence. But it feels dirty. Like I stooped to their level. He pushed his glasses up his nose. Let's be clear. What they did was malicious. What you did was self-preservation. You didn't hack into secure servers. You accessed an unsecured, company-issued device that was left unattended. Legally, it's a gray area, but morally, I'd say you're on solid ground. This is your leverage. So, HR. Not yet. We build a bulletproof case. We anticipate their denials, their gaslighting. Oh, we thought my name liked working alone. We just forgot to invite them sometimes. It was just casual chat, not serious work. The Slack logs dismantle all of that. They show intent. They show malice. They show active coordination. Alex guided me through the next steps. We drafted a meticulously detailed timeline incorporating the calendar entries, the Slack messages, the subtle office cues I'd observed. We even went back through my performance reviews, noting how, despite excellent ratings, the feedback occasionally included vague, unsubstantiated comments about team integration or social dynamics, planted seeds, I now realized, designed to undermine my position subtly. The hum of the bar, the clinking of glasses, the low murmur of conversations, all faded into the background as we constructed this edifice of truth. It was exhilarating and terrifying, all at once. The air in that bar, usually thick with the scent of cheap beer and last night's regrets, now smelled like justice. Or, at least, the promise of it. When we finally scheduled the meeting with HR, I walked in armed. Not just with physical documents, but with a newfound steel in my spine. The HR manager, a woman named Ms. Davies, was initially polite, almost dismissive. Tone cue, deliberately calm, almost cold. So, my name, you've indicated some concerns about team dynamics? Her voice was practiced, a smooth, HR-approved cadence designed to minimize, to pacify. She offered a lukewarm coffee in a branded mug, its ceramic cool against my palm. Yes, Ms. Davies. I believe I've been subjected to a sustained campaign of professional and social ostracism, bordering on harassment, by Sarah, Mark, David, and Jess. Her eyebrows raised slightly. Those are serious allegations. Can you elaborate? I can. And I have documentation. I slid a neatly bound binder across the table. Inside were printed copies of everything, the calendar entries, the Slack screenshots, the timeline. Each page carefully annotated, each piece of evidence forensically tied to specific dates and times. The light from the window caught the glossy pages, making them almost glow. She picked it up, her polite smile slowly dissolving as she flipped through the pages. The silence in the room stretched, thick and heavy, punctuated only by the rustle of paper and the distant murmur of office life beyond the closed door. I watched her face, searching for any flicker of understanding, any acknowledgement of the systematic cruelty I'd endured. Her expression shifted from professional skepticism to genuine shock, then to a tight-lipped, almost angry resolve. This is quite comprehensive, my name. Her voice was now devoid of its earlier placating tone. These Slack messages. Sad dusk salad? Respecting their wishes? She looked up, her gaze piercing. This clearly demonstrates intent. Malice. And the coordinated nature of it. For 3 months, Miss Davies. Every day. Did you confront them? I tried, subtly. They gaslighted me. Minimized it. Made me feel like I was imagining things. That's why I felt compelled to collect this evidence. The confrontation with Sarah, Mark, David, and Jess happened 2 days later. It was surreal. Ms. Davies and my manager were there. Their faces, usually so confident, so dismissive, were now pale, etched with a mixture of fear and feigned indignation. Tone cue, calm, almost detached. Sarah, Mark, David, Jess, Ms. Davies began, her voice crisp. We have received a formal complaint regarding your conduct towards my name. Sarah, ever the golden child, piped up immediately. A complaint? What are you talking about? We're a great team. We always include everyone. Her voice was shrill, a desperate attempt to maintain her carefully constructed facade of innocence. Oh, really? My manager, who had initially been quite surprised by the evidence Alex and I presented, now sounded genuinely angry. Because these calendar entries, these Slack messages, paint a very different picture. Team lunch, sushi joint every day for 3 months. With my name, S name conspicuously absent. And these delightful comments in your private Slack channel, Sarah, team lunch _inner circle. Ms. Davies then started reading, verbatim, from the Slack logs I'd provided. The sad desk salad comment. The guess who's munching again. The respecting their wishes. The air crackled with tension. David squirmed in his seat. Mark stared at the table. Jess looked like she was about to cry, probably more out of self-pity than remorse. Sarah, though, went into full reactive abuse mode. This is ridiculous. Sarah shrieked, her face turning crimson. This is an invasion of privacy. My name must have hacked my computer. You can't use this. This is completely unprofessional. Sarah, Ms. Davies said, her voice dangerously quiet, your company-issued laptop, logged into company Slack, was left unsecured in a public area of the office. Any information accessed under those circumstances, especially pertaining to workplace conduct, is fair game. Furthermore, your actions, as documented here, constitute a hostile work environment, blatant discrimination, and a serious breach of our company's code of conduct. This isn't about privacy. It's about a systematic campaign of bullying. But we didn't mean anything by it. David stammered, attempting to backtrack, his earlier bravado completely gone. It was just office banter. We thought my name was just quiet, preferred to work alone. Bullshit, David. I heard my own voice, sharp and steady, cutting through the room. Tone cue, cutting, unwavering, you actively coordinated my exclusion. You mocked me. You deliberately created a separate social sphere to isolate me. Don't you dare try to gaslight me again. I sat there, day after day, smelling your food, hearing your laughter, wondering what was wrong with me. You did that. And you knew what you were doing. The meeting ended with them being placed on immediate administrative leave, pending a full internal investigation. Sarah, still sputtering about privacy, was escorted out by security. Mark and David looked utterly defeated. Jess was crying softly. The cost of winning hit me later, though. The quiet office, once a source of comfort, now felt charged with a different kind of tension. I had won. They were gone. But the victory felt hollow, tinged with a deep, pervasive weariness. The taste of that cheap lemon air freshener was still there, but now it tasted like ashes. My trust in workplace dynamics was shattered. I saw cliques everywhere, heard whispers in every corner. The process of meticulously documenting their cruelty had forced me to relive every single painful moment, every ignored glance, every isolated lunch. It was a war, and I had emerged victorious, but not unscathed. My hands still sometimes shook when I remembered those Slack messages, the casual joy they took in my humiliation. I'm still at that company for now. My manager and Ms. Davies were incredibly supportive, and there's been a clear effort to reintegrate me and foster a more inclusive environment. But the scar remains. The reactive abuse they inflicted, the slow erosion of my self-worth, has left a mark. I see their faces, sometimes in my dreams, laughing over their sad desk salads. The sunk cost fallacy had kept me there, enduring for far too long. I stayed because I believed in my work, in my potential, in the idea that things would get better. But sometimes, things don't get better until you force the issue, until you shine a brutal light on the darkness. So, I ask you, the collective jury of the internet, was it worth it? Was the methodical, almost vengeful pursuit of justice, the digital forensics, the ethical tightrope walk, worth the emotional toll it took to expose their calculated cruelty? Was I justified in my methods, or did I, in my quest for retribution, descend to a level of manipulation that blurred the lines of my own integrity? Did the cost of winning overshadow the necessity of exposing such insidious workplace bullying, or was this the only way to truly reclaim my peace? What do you think?